Fires a long one. Nothing but net. Oh, my goodness. Didn't see that coming. I'm diddly dee.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of All Nat, brought to you by OTS. I am your host, Natalie, but most people call me Nat, and I am hyped. I'm excited today for my guests and my postseason coverage of the NBA season. I have Detroit native Vincent Goodwill with me, who's also an NBA writer for Yahoo Sports and also a SiriusXM Radio host. So I brought the big guns in for this, and I have a surprise for you because you guys are going to meet and talk to, well, you're going to hear from, I'm going to talk to the person who is the creator of the death lineup name for the Golden State Warriors. And I bet y'all did not know that, or many of you didn't, because I did not know that. So Vince is going to tell us about that and help me break down the playoffs so far. And I'm just so thankful that you decided to come join me on the show. Thanks, Vince. Welcome.
Oh, this is gonna be fun. I can just feel it. I feel all of the Bay Area just bearing down on me. Right? I feel like there's like gin and juice and E40 and Klay Thompson lookalikes like all around me.
Well, probably. I mean, I'm actually, it's so funny because I'm actually not from the Bay Area, but people always think, I don't
You're
know.
from New York, right?
Yes. But a lot of people are just like, the Bay Area embraced most of them. I don't want to speak for everyone, but they embraced me eventually. I had to work, like they're very protective of the squad, and I understand why. And so, it's like, who are you? Are you a bandwagon? Where'd you come from? Why are you repping our team? So I had to earn my stripes, but I think I've gotten the respect for a large portion of the fan base. There's some who still don't like me, and that's okay. Like, we don't all like each other, but I love this team, and the Bay Area is great. I've gone out there before the games. I was going back when Oracle was still around. I've made it out to Chase. So Oakland specifically, like, is dope out there.
Yeah, Oakland's different than San Francisco. I'll just leave it at that.
Yes.
If you know, you know. Oakland is different.
Exactly. But you've been covering the NBA for a while now. So, you used to go out to Oracle, right?
I loved Oracle.
You did.
I used to tell
everyone
people.
did.
I told people before Golden State got good, like my first time there, it might have been my first like West Coast road trip in 2010. I think Sacramento was first, and then Oakland was after that. And I was like, wait a minute. They're playing this type of music in the arena. Like, forget the game. Like, we ain't talking about the game.
Right.
The corny in-arena music and all stuff that really don't appeal to us.
Right.
And then I'm hearing G-Funk. And I'm like, wait a minute. Like, what's this? And this is like this is a Golden State of when Jeremy Lin had his short stint there. Like, this is how far back that was.
Yeah.
When Steph and Monte were there, and you were like, okay, they're a nice little cute team. Not like a derisive way, but it was like, oh, okay, maybe they'll figure it out. But I was covering a dog shit team, so I didn't really have the legs to stand on.
Who were you covering then?
I was covering the Pistons back then.
Okay.
And this is when they just got bad. You know what I mean? So I didn't really have the space, but I just loved the atmosphere, the energy. The arena was full. You know what I mean? It was like a regular Tuesday, Wednesday night, and it was just so much energy there. And I remember telling people, y'all got to replicate Oracle. I don't know, whatever it is that they got going on there.
It's a vibe.
Everybody from like the ushers, like the people who would just work there, the random people that sort of built the character of the arena. I loved it. So when they got good and you start going out there, it was like, okay, it not becomes corporate, but you're like, man, not everybody sees it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so it was real cool.
It was definitely a vibe then. Like, I don't know. You've been to Chase, right?
Yeah, I've been to Chase.
Yeah. So, Chase has potential. So I don't want to like dismiss it, but it's just different.
That's what it is. It's different. That's just the word for it. It's not in a bad way. I haven't been there. It's funny. I was there when it was being built.
Okay.
Because I went during the finals.
All right.
2019, they were building the finals, and then, Raymond Ritter from PR and a bunch of people, hey, come see the new place. Okay. Like, oh, okay, yeah, you go see it. While it's being built, and you're like, yeah, but this don't quite feel like Oracle. It just feels like brick and mortar type of thing. So I'm actually looking forward to going out there if
Okay.
they're in the Western Conference Finals.
Woo! Woo! We're gonna get into that. We're gonna get into
Okay,
predictions.
okay,
I'm
okay.
curious though. I mean, I know you're from Detroit, and I feel like you told me this before, but forgive me, my memory
No,
is not
all
always
good,
great.
all good.
But who do you have a team? I know a lot of people, once they get into like media, they're like, I don't even have like a team anymore because it's like hard and I can't. But like, do you have a team? And were the Pistons ever your team?
Growing up, absolutely. Yes,
Okay.
the Pistons were my team. You know, growing up as a child of the Bad Boys, a
Yeah.
child of the Fab Five, and all that type of stuff. Yeah, like you know, still watch games on like YouTube, like of those Pistons Bulls games and Pistons Lakers and all that stuff, just to get your old Jones in. But
Right.
yeah, when you're in media and you're supposed to be impartial, like the one thing you do root for is like stories. I root for the best possible situation of drama. Like when Kevin Durant came back in game 5 against Toronto, I was like, oh yeah, the finals are starting now. Like we are here. Like he had hit like 3 shots in a row. He had hit him on Kawhi. I was like, okay, this feels like the NBA finals. Let's take this all the way to 7. You're
Right.
rooting for something like that. You're rooting for the drama. You're rooting for the different, storylines. But like a team, nah, because everybody changes teams. You kind of lose. You know what I mean? And I think people look at it like you hate our team. No, I kind of hate everybody's team. I'm an equal opportunity
Hater?
hater. Yes, I don't hate anybody. Just think there's a sensitive fan bases. I won't name them on here because they're real sensitive. You know.
Well, I'll name them and you don't have to say anything. You could like maybe wink or something, but we know the Lakers is like the #1 fan base. And I know you caught some heat too from Warriors Twitter because you had a hot take with Bomani that you've since then walked back, right? Like you no longer believe that. I won't even repeat
What was
it
it?
on here.
No, go ahead. What was it? No. We good. What was it? What was the hot
It
take?
was, you guys were talking about Steph and like you're like, yeah, he's one of the greatest, but he's not. Or I think you were comparing him to other the
Was
other
this
stars in the
was
league.
this the franchise conversation that me and Bomani had
I
when we
think
were
so. I
like,
mean, you guys said a lot of things, but there was a specific, I have to look at the video because there's a specific video that everyone replays. And it was like, you guys were saying he couldn't do something, and then he like came back he had the season he had last season, and everyone was just like every day in your mentions. And I think you guys like had a episode where you both came on, you're like, all right, so with me you were vindicated, but I don't know if you were with everyone else.
I don't care. Here's the thing. I don't care. I think what I said was what we said was
1-4 flat, is that the
yes, that's what it was, and
okay.
it wasn't even our original idea to backtrack. I think we were saying, not to backtrack, to go back. I think people were saying, who can get you a bucket? Like if you just go 1-4 flat, who can get you a bucket that doesn't require the framework of an offense? You're talking
Right.
about like a Kevin Durant, like a Kyrie when his head is right. You know what I mean? Like those type of guys. And I think I said about Steph was he's not a natural shot creator in that way. He gets there, but it's different. It's just totally different because he's not. I don't even say he's not super quick twist or anything. It was some weird thing because he gets his shot, but he gets it off the threat of you like jumping or something. You know what I mean? Like you're so afraid that he's going to shoot it in your face. He winds up shooting it in your face anyway. That type of thing. So it's not like a Kyrie or Kyrie can dribble around you, do the Harlem Globe, try to think. Like Steph ain't really doing that as much. But if the name of the game is get us a shot, Steph is great at getting us a shot as well as
So,
anybody.
right. I think the issue most people had, if I remember correctly, is that it sounded maybe like you guys were saying like he can't do that. And I mean, I don't know, maybe you guys still believe that, but
No.
okay.
The dude is shooting left-handed threes. Like you can't say a guy can't get his shot when he pump fakes Jason Tatum in the air and shoots a left-handed three from 23 feet. Like and the numbers say that he's a guy that can create a shot. I'd rather have a guy, for me, especially at the point guard spot, if you can get us a good shot, that's almost more important than you getting yourself a good shot. Now, sometimes I want you taking that shot. You know what I mean? Like if you create a good shot for Draymond Green from 25 feet, I really don't want that because that's not Draymond's bag.
Right.
I'd rather you take that. So I think from the standpoint of a guy who can take it on his shoulders and say, you know what, I'm the best player on the floor. I'm going to get myself the best possible shot. He's not as high on that list as KD or as Kyrie, but it doesn't mean that he can't get himself a real quality shot better than 99.5% of the guys in the league. I don't think that's a shade. And even if Kyrie can get you a really good shot, he can also dribble himself into a double team and pass Kevin Durant a hot potato like he did in Game 1 of Boston the other night. You know what I mean? So it's not this zero sum proposition. And Steph has heard some things I've said because he gave me a nice little shot when I interviewed him in Cleveland a few months ago. I was
he hears everything. Wait, what did he say to you though?
I was doing a feature on this is when he had like a real hot month. Like November, he just came out like a pistol. And I told my boss, I'm like, Steph is going to win MVP this year. And he's going to change the whole narrative. And it's going to be like 10 years or 8 years from his first MVP to his next one. And that's a really good sign of longevity. So when I talked to Steph about it, and we were like 15 minutes into the interview, and he taps me on my leg, Nat, and he says, not bad for a system player, huh? I said, fool, I didn't say that. And come back here. Like, this interview ain't over. You know what I mean? And I had to explain to him, this ain't that. You know what I mean? I said, you are the system, not a system player. There's a difference.
There is. But just the way that many in the media talk about him, that's how they make him sound, you know?
Yeah.
And I understand all the reasons why people would say Kevin Durant is better, like to just go get his shot because of his height, who he is, all those things. I would push back though a little bit on Kyrie. I don't think Kyrie is like any better at like creating a shot than Steph. I really don't. I think that for himself or for others, you know, I think that like, you know, it's funny. I was having this conversation with a friend recently, and we're probably both biased because I'm a big Steph fan and he's a big Kyrie guy, right? And
talk about world of worlds.
I know. It was just I actually don't love talking about basketball with him, and yet he always like gets me into basketball conversations. So anyway, he was like, we were watching the game together the other night, and he's like, you still think that Steph is a better finisher than Kyrie? I was like, yes. And I was just like, I'm not going to change my mind on this. And so like he was pushing me because he's like, you're talking about efficiency. Because I said he puts the ball in the rim at a higher rate. That is better, definitively. Like, I don't understand like what we're disputing. And I was like, if you're saying Kyrie's more creative, he can like do more, that's fine. But like, there has to be a balance between how creative you are and the amount in which you put it in the rim. And like, Steph is no slouch either. Y'all are acting like he just like does like these really simple finishes. I understand that Kyrie is more flashy and does all this other stuff, but Steph is no slouch. You know what I'm saying? And so like, it's like, if one of them can still do a lot of stuff and he's putting it in at a higher rate, like, no, you're not going to convince me that he's a better finisher. He's like, no, that's efficiency. So we were just like back and forth.
I think the intersection is decision making. That's the intersection of Kyrie has probably more in his bag than anybody, you know, and we're in a section of bag Twitter, right? You ain't got a bag, that type of thing. That old simplistic stuff, right?
Right.
I was about to cuss on here, but I
curse all the time, but you may not be able to.
I work for corporate entities, so okay, I gotta be careful.
No doubt. Yeah,
but y'all get it. Y'all get what I'm saying. But you know, bag Twitter is such a thing.
Yeah.
And Kyrie, I think, can square his body and set himself up in ways to make awkward seem not awkward. Better than virtually anybody that I've ever seen play the game. Now, Kyrie can also be the dude that walks himself into a dark alley and tries to magician himself out of it and sometimes can't do it. Steph isn't necessarily always going to walk himself into that dark alley. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you know, I don't take the whole Kevin Love thing because his knee was jacked up in his game 7 in the finals and you played 100+ games. I don't care about that. Like, I'm not faulting Steph for that one particular, you know what I'm saying, instance. But
he should have tried to actually get around. It was probably hard for him. So he settled, but he should have. And he said that, like, I should have just tried to, right? He settled.
Yeah, he settled. And that's usually Steph making, when Steph is at his best is when he toes the line between keeping it tight and being creative. When Steph goes a little too wild outside of that box, you get him throwing that past the Klay Thompson that goes out of bounds. You know what I mean? Like, right. I think he's become a smarter player than when he was in his MVP season.
Of course.
Or than the unanimous year. I mean, I think he's become a smarter player. I won't say better, but he's been a smarter player
because
he changes and everything else. But I think Steph and you guys get a little bit sensitive about any criticism with Steph, and I get it because I'm that way about Isaiah Thomas. You will not say a single word wrong about Isaiah Lloyd Thomas. I will come from the rooftops like Sting. Like, seriously, I don't play, so I get it. I admire it. And the thing about KD to me, because here's where me and you will differ.
Right.
I think KD's been the best player in basketball since 2014. Mm-hmm. The only reason I'll say that is because Kevin Durant became a really, 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 really good defender that year. And LeBron stopped defending that year. And I was like, oh, okay, the change has happened. And then next year, Steph comes out of absolute nowhere to become the MVP. And I'll let you on the secret. The year before that, I got offered a job to work in the Bay to cover Golden State. And I told them while I was interviewing there, I think y'all going to the finals and Steph is going to be MVP. And this was actually the year before that. It was the year that you guys lost to the Clippers in the first round.
Thank you. Because I was talking about stuff like that back then too. And people used to tell me I was crazy. So when people say like, no one saw this, I said, some of us saw it. We saw the potential. You didn't know the volume of it. You didn't know that he was going to be completely like unleashed. And I remember when Mark Jackson said, greatest shooting backcourt of all time. And I found an old tweet and I was like, yeah, they are the greatest shooting backcourt of all time. Right.
And they might be, a top 3, top 2 greatest backcourt of all time if we keeping it a buck. You know what I mean? So I do think that history will wind up categorizing them accurately. And Steph is beyond greatest shooter of all time.
Yes.
It's
I hate that,
when you say that.
Term.
It's simplified when you say it, right? He's the greatest shooter of all time. You're like, what else? What else? No, that's just where we starting at. Relax. We just starting there. You know what I mean?
You're just starting there, but many aren't. Some people genuinely say that and like it's a compliment. I don't understand.
It is.
But some people are doing it as
it's to be derisive. It is sometimes it can be, but you can't tell people's intentions. You don't know if it's a period or a comma at the end of that. He's the greatest shooter of all time. I can tell.
I know the people were saying
that. Are your sensitivity filters on all Madden? Are your sensitivity?
Listen, I'm a very good reader of people. I can tell. I'm trained to do this, but it's okay. I give some people the benefit of the doubt. You probably give them more than me, but that's cool.
Depending on the subject, depending on what we're talking about and what day it is. You know what I mean? I can't pretend as if I don't have my filters up and being like, no, you want some nonsense. You know what I mean? But I do think Steph is going to be like, I think the holy trinity of point guards is Steph, Magic, and Zeke. I don't think there's anything wrong by saying Steph can't catch Magic because Magic was just Magic might be one of the top 3 players of all time. And it's no shade to say Steph is probably.
Where do you put Chris Paul? I'm just curious. I'm not one of these people who elevate him the way others do. I mean, I don't think Chris Paul is not a great player. I just like the way that people will kind of elevate him above Isaiah Thomas, which I see. Because I think for many, unless you're like a older school person,
right?
Like we'll say Steph is second. Like you got the older ones who'll be like Oscar Robinson, but yeah, okay. No.
Modern, because Stan Van Gundy got on, who I really like. Stan Van Gundy got on me one day. And he was like, "You haven't seen Oscar?" I'm like, "No, I haven't." So it's kind of hard to contextualize. But Chris Paul is in I won't call him a second tier. Like I think that first tier is those 3 guys that I named. They're champions. They can take over a game. They can take over a series. They can play inside the system, outside the system, that type of thing. Chris Paul might be the ultimate system point guard in a way that if you're playing with him, you're going to get shots. You're going to get buckets. We're going to win 50 games as long as he's healthy. But there might be a harder ceiling. The ceiling might not be the roof. That rooftop might not be open because Steph can take over a game scoring 40. You know what I mean? If Steve Kerr can, there's a difference between winding up with 40 and then going into the game saying, I have to get 40 tonight.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's really subtle. But those three guys, even Magic, who is not a traditional scorer, but Magic knew, okay, some days I'm going to have to get 35, da, 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 da. Chris Paul's kind of like, all right, this is what the game is calling for. If I wind up with 35, so be it. But he's not coming in there putting his stamp on the game like that. Chris Paul, to me, is more of a John Stockton. You know what I mean? Where he's going to give you 16 and 12. You know what I mean? And 18 and 12 or whatever it is. And that's point guard level. You know what I mean? That's up there. And I don't think one ring changes where he sits historically. I just think it maybe erases the unfair choker label, that he has. I don't think he's a choker. He's had some cringeworthy moments.
Yeah.
Like Magic had, like Isaiah's had.
Like they all have, but Chris has had more of them. He's gotten
hurt. He's gotten hurt, right? Chris Paul has gotten hurt. Then the game 5 in Oklahoma City, that was pretty bad. That was one of the worst things I've ever seen from a great point guard. That was really bad. But he's also had some really great games.
But you're not going to get me to say too many nice things about Chris Paul. Because I cannot stand him. I know you know. I know you see my tweets.
Look, here's the bad part. Dragonfly Jones put some on Twitter the other day and said, only Magic, Zeke, and Steph are better. And I said, yeah. And next thing I know, like 2 minutes later, I don't know if you were replying to me per se, but she said, oh, here y'all come with that Chris Paul stuff.
Oh, no. And I wasn't. I didn't even see that. So I didn't see that. But it was just, it started on the broadcast when he just started. And it was just like, oh, gosh, here we go. And here are the tweets now. And la, 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 la. But
Chris Paul plays perfect. And I don't say that in a negative. It can be taken negative. He plays a perfect game.
He doesn't take risks. I think Isaiah was talking about this.
He does not take risks. And a lot of times that works in the regular season. But in the playoffs, if you know what your opponent is going to do and you play him to the percentages and that's the way that he plays, you can kind of keep him controlled. But if you're a little more unpredictable, if you're going to take that extra pass, maybe it doesn't get through, but that defense has to counter for it and they have to think about it. I think I'd rather have that variance as opposed to just being that, I wouldn't say predictable is the word, but dependable and reliable. You know what I mean? Because once you get to a certain level of the playoffs, Nat, everybody knows what everybody's doing. By game 3, I know what you're running. You know what I'm running. And it's about executing and what can you do outside of a system? What can you do outside of a framework of an offense? And I think that's what separates those 3 guys from virtually anybody else that's played the game at that spot.
I'd agree. So
that's not so bad. That's not so bad, is it?
No, it's not. I want to give you a hypothetical real quick, and then we're going to move on from this.
Okay.
Steph gets 2 more rings, 2 MVPs, 2 finals MVPs, 2 more rings, 2 finals MVPs, 1 more MVP. I'm just saying. I just want to give you a hypothetical. I understand that you don't think it's realistic by the faces you're making. But what I'm saying is, let's say that happens, right?
Okay.
I just want to understand, when you say he can't catch Magic, is this because of resume or because of like the actual player that he is? Because Magic is my favorite player of all time, actually. Mm-hmm. And I never thought I could ever love another player as much as him or even think someone could catch him. And I think the only thing that makes me put Magic over Steph is resume. I actually think that Steph is a more skilled player. So even though, like, the way that I look at Steph shooting, right, where like people say he's the best shooter, I look at Magic as the best passer. So there's Magic and then there's everyone else for me, right? And so, and both are insane skills to have, but I'm still going to take the guy who has the shooting skill over. And then there's just like other things, right? Yeah. So, but whatever, it doesn't matter. Neither were great defenders, but I get that Magic was bigger and, you know, whatever, he could play some more positions that Steph can't. So like, look, there's a conversation for both, but I have this conversation all the time with Tony Jones, unfortunately, who will drive me crazy because he's a high key Steph hater, but won't admit it. And like Steph can never catch magic. Oh, yes, he can. And I feel like the limitations people always put on Steph is like, y'all keep saying he can't do things and he does. And like he should have had another MVP, whether it's like 2 seasons ago or even this one, and it got messed up. I'm not saying he should like right now be MVP. I understand that things changed throughout the season that changed that. But when I say he should have, meaning he could still play at that level and the opportunity was there. Like,
I get you.
Right. And so there were reasons why that wasn't going to happen 2 seasons ago because the Warriors were like trying to soft tank and do other things. There was just like a lot going on that season. So we were never going to have like the record and finish high enough. And then this season he had his slump, and then like we were trying to reintegrate Clay, and then like there was a whole bunch of stuff, then he got hurt. So, and that can always happen. That can always happen in a season, and something can derail you, right? But like if they win this year, like that's gonna boost him anyway, because you guys always give a boost to whoever's coming in the season off of winning. A lot of times that's what I see. Like if you just win the chip, and especially if you played well, right? People come in because that's what it is. Like, oh, Kevin Durant, he's gonna be the MVP because da 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 da. I mean, that's what y'all do with every player but Steph. Steph always has to do more to get people to.
Oh no, I think you're being slightly sensitive.
Okay, well, coming in this season, even though he finished top 3 in MVP voting, when I saw all the lists for potential MVPs this year, Steph wasn't on most of them. He wasn't like top 5. He didn't have the Vegas odds, right? And then he started the season, and what do you know? He was like right at the top of the list. So that's what I mean. I just don't think he can have a great season the season before. And unlike the other players, Luka has it, Kevin Durant has it, these other guys have it, and people like Giannis, whoever, and people are like, yeah, MVP. But Steph has to always come in each season and re-show that he's still that guy. That's all I'm saying.
It's a heightened sensitivity you have. I'm not going to lie.
Okay, but that did happen. All those things I said happened, right?
But it's projection, and the projection is for Steph. It was probably more of an organizational thing. Where's Golden State going to land this year? Because usually when you draft rookies in the top 10, even in a good draft, they're not usually going to contribute immediately and turn a contender into, what you think to be a contender into a contender. That's usually not how it works. So you're probably thinking Giannis being the finals MVP, winning the MVP the previous 2 years before Jokic won it. Okay, he's validated. He's going to take his game. We're going to see that guy that he finished with taking it to the next level, and now we're going to be able to vote for him.
Giannis finished top 3 in MVP voting last year. Who were the top 3?
That's a good question.
It wasn't Giannis. Steph was third. Okay, and Jokic and Embiid were first and second. Right.
But I'm saying he won the MVP 2 years prior to that, before the streak was broken. And then when he won the Finals MVP, it was like, okay, now he's validated. You know what I mean? He's going to take that next sort of, historically, you take the next step in that way of being validated. And he's younger. You know what I mean? Like he's younger with probably more upside.
But let's take Giannis out of it, because I know why he would be. But Kevin Durant finished in the second round.
Right.
Went out in 7, missed half the season, right? Still hasn't really demonstrated that he can play a full season again, because he got hurt again this year, right? I mean, he hasn't. And he's not even a full year younger than Steph. And he was projected to be one of the MVP candidates, right?
And you know who was doing? You know who was one of the people doing it? Me, right here.
That's fine, but I'm not mad at that because Kevin Durant deserves that. What I'm saying is, you see the Warriors finish the season. People are like, we don't know what they were going to be. Well, you saw them finish the season on a stretch where they won 15 of 20. It was enough to bump Steph into 3rd in the MVP conversation, and he wasn't on even top 5. His odds were like 8 or 9. Like that. Come on, Vince. You cannot tell me that's all because of organizational.
No, I think, if I remember correctly, because you're trying to have me go back to thinking in October.
That's your thinking.
No, or just the general thought. You know what I mean? Because I can't speak for anybody else. Right. And I don't know if Steph has to do more, but hey, is this Golden State? Because my concern was, is Golden State going to go back to being Golden State? Like, runs don't last 7, 8 years with the same core of guys. It just doesn't happen. So if you know what I mean? What was that again?
I said Steph is different. That's what y'all are gonna learn. I'm just waiting.
No, I wrote a big glowing piece on Steph when he was going through. When he
I'm
called
not
him,
saying you're just a
he said,
hater.
yeah.
I don't believe that. That's not what I'm saying.
So but I do wonder. We don't let you in on the secret. I don't know if people really believed how good of a coach Steve Kerr is or isn't, to be able to take the talent and turn it into a contender more so than a Steph thing. And you're looking at Luka being younger and having a new coach that actually likes him. You know what I mean? So I think it's
damn about Luka.
I know you don't.
And Luka don't even start the season healthy ever. He got to always work himself back into conditioning.
No Slovenian beers, man. You know what I mean?
Okay. Well, look, if Jordan Poole continues the way that he is, he's basically extending our title window, right? We get that. If he continues, like if he keeps playing like this,
okay,
and his trajectory continues the way it is,
okay.
How does that not, like, how is that any different than the Spurs and Kawhi?
That's a great point. Nah, that's a little far.
Because you think Kawhi's a better player, but I'm just saying.
Yes. No, I think their window's extended because I think Kuminga's going to be really, really good.
Well, both of them. It's the two of them. Kuminga's not yet there, but it's extended because those two, but also because Steph is really not in decline yet, right? Like every year people want to say that, but he's older. So yeah, there's some things that have changed, but he's not really in decline. He's still like a top player in the league.
I think when you're Golden State, the margins are thin because you're not built traditionally. Even in today's game where you're built so much around shooting, the margins are thin. So Steph shot a career low from 3 this year?
Yeah, 38%. But that's not happening again. You're not seeing no more sub 40 years. You don't know.
You're right. I get you. Totally understandable. But I think there's a difference between shooting 39 and shooting 42. It doesn't feel like a big gap, but I think that gap is really wide in terms of like team building and how many games you win, and you know what I mean? And you don't get, I think Steph's shooting is going to keep his prime extended. You know what I'm saying? Because you're going to keep your legs, you're going to be able to play off of people more and stuff like that. But I just think it's a general thought that teams around you get better. Teams around you get younger. Like Memphis, look, my mother's favorite team is Golden State, and she hates Memphis. And I am exactly sure that she hates Memphis because they're the antithesis of Golden State.
Because they talk too damn much, but
don't y'all be shimmying in people's faces?
Shout out to but I don't have a issue with anyone talking. I really don't. I love it. I am the queen of talking. But if you don't back it up,
will you admit that y'all get away with most stuff that other teams don't?
No, because we don't. Come on, man. LeBron James was drinking beers on the sideline and they were playing games on the sideline. Get the fuck out of here. Y'all act like we are doing anything extraordinary over other teams. We're not. We just win a lot more, so people see it more. Listen, here's the thing, right? All these points that people make about like what you even said, the 39-42. Here's my counter to that. One is the shots that Steph were missing were wide open shots. They weren't shouldn't
that be a concern that they're wide open? He's missing.
No, it should be like, do you really think he forgot how to shoot, or was he just in a slump? And he even broke down in an article that he realized some stuff had changed about his mechanics. I think the best shooter in the world would know why he is slumping than anyone else, right? So that's one. And then secondly, like teams guard Steph differently now than they did in 2016. So like expecting him to still be like even closer to like 42 or 45, the fact that he can still be 40 with the way that he's guarded, to me, because if they were still guarding him like the way he was in 2016, I feel like you'd still be seeing 42%. So I just don't feel like we can just look at the numbers and be like, well, it was this and then that. Like, I feel like you have to actually look at like, okay, well, why are these things happening? Let me look at the trends.
No, I don't think it's a zero-sum proposition. I don't think it's he lost it. Yeah, I'm not I'm not a fool. You
I
know
know
what I
you're
mean?
not, but I don't think he's in decline the way that people think he is. Like with LeBron, it was always like, oh yeah, no, but it's every year with Steph, it's like, okay, he's this age and he's getting
Here's where Steph and LeBron, and this will go back to your question that you asked about 5 minutes ago.
okay.
This is where Steph and LeBron are similar to me in terms of the conversation. If you're not getting better, you're getting worse. So if I said LeBron was in decline from 2013, that player might have been the second greatest player I've ever seen in my life, next to Michael Jordan, LeBron. He was at the absolute peak of his powers on both ends of the floor, athletically, also the type of stuff. Just because you're sliding down from that point doesn't mean that I think you suck.
Fair, and I get that, but no one would ever blink an eye if I said LeBron might win another MVP. Not now, but back in like 2013, you would have thought that was crazy if you said LeBron can win another MVP.
Once I'll tell you the moment I thought LeBron was never going to win another MVP.
When the Warriors came around.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
No. It was that year. It was that year. It was the first year of that.
The media was on track to give him an MVP like the second year in LA if he didn't get hurt.
No, that was still Giannis's. Giannis won that pretty easily. Right before the league shut down?
Yeah, he did, but that's only because Bron got hurt.
No,
he was leading the race in the beginning.
No, he wasn't.
Yes, he was, man.
No, he was not. See,
okay. You want me to pull out the straw polls and the MVP ladders?
Or you want to talk to a voter?
I'm just saying he wasn't for you, but he was for bad people.
He was in contention. I remember what happened. He was in strong contention, and Giannis was leading pretty heavily.
No. That was the year. I'm talking about the year, not that year. I'm talking about the year that
his first year in LA when he injured his groin.
No. The year I think it's last year. That it was last year. So after winning the finals. Winning the finals.
Oh, I remember him saying that, but I don't remember him.
He was the media wanted to give him a
lifetime
career achievement. Yeah,
a lifetime
exactly.
That's what he wanted to do. Okay, maybe.
No, they did. You maybe didn't, but they definitely did. Okay. I remember listening to I would listen to these pods, and you know me. I was just like, I was just like nauseated from the talk. And everyone's like, it just has to be because, and I just kept hearing it has to be. And like Embiid was like going off, right? Because Jokic wasn't in the conversation quite yet because Denver was struggling a little bit and stuff like that. So it was like Bron or Embiid. And I'm just like, are you guys kidding me? It's Embiid, like clearly. And it was just like, but Bron. And I just feel like if he did not get hurt, and I'm not happy he got hurt. But I just feel like if that, I'm really not. I don't wish injury on any.
No, I get you. I get you. No,
but if he didn't, I feel like they would have given him the lifetime achievement MVP.
That's really interesting. And no, I'm hearing it from you from like the first time. Like I promise you, this is not like I'm not putting on. That's interesting. I never got that feeling, but it wasn't like I was traveling last year because we were all locked down. And usually that's when you find out. You're sitting around and you're talking with guys and they think, oh, what are you thinking? And you find out where kind of a general tone is. So I can't say that you're wrong.
How has that changed? Like with you, like, cause like pre-COVID versus post-COVID, does that change? Like how you just noted, like you're not sitting around talking to people. So like, that's a change in like how your job normally goes. But were there other like notable changes? I know you guys weren't in the locker rooms as much, but was there anything else that like affected your ability to do your job or kind of be in the know or whatever?
Not being in the locker rooms, not being on the floors. Like before that time, those 30 minutes before the game, where you're not interrupting the guys, but you can talk to an assistant coach, or if a player's done warming up and he wants to sit down and chat, that type of thing. That's really critical, just getting to know guys. You know what I mean? Like literally just you're turning the recorder off, you're just shooting the shit with somebody. Like even being in the locker room, like the last year of Golden State, this was the funniest thing in the world. Because what happened 2 days later? I'm in Brooklyn, like I'm living in New York at the time, and Brooklyn is playing Golden State. Nobody's thinking anything about Brooklyn being in the Kevin Durant sweepstakes. We're just sitting in the Barclays Vision and locker room. I'm standing between Draymond, who I've known since he was in college, and KD. And we're just shooting it back and forth, just the three of us. You know what I mean? You wouldn't have, it was so cool just to have a basketball life like KD was talking about growing up in DC or going to a club when he was 16 when he shouldn't have been there. And we were all just kind of shooting it back and forth a little bit. And then 2 days later, the Clippers thing happened. Literally 2 days later or 3 days later, whatever it was, you know what I mean? And I was like, man, I would have never have guessed that it was bubbling beneath the surface because you didn't feel it or see it. But that part changes. You don't get a chance to sit and talk with the guys because a lot of times they'll ask you, hey man, who you want for MVP? Not
They
even if they're in the
do.
conversation.
Just like out
Not
of
even,
curiosity.
yeah, out of their own curiosity. They'll say, hey man, what you think? You know what I mean? And I've had players come to me and ask me, hey, this motherfucker play. You know what I mean? This dude, he playing. You need to pay attention to him, that type of thing. Or, man, he ain't that good. You know what I mean? They won't say it in a demeaning way, but they'll say, hey, you need to stop paying attention in that way. So that's changed it. But I do want to bring up something.
Okay.
Because you said, what would it take to overtake Magic? And you asked me, would it be an accomplishment thing? And I said the same thing about LeBron and Mike. Is the only way LeBron can become better than Michael is to become a better basketball player. And I don't think that he is. The only way that Steph can become better than Magic is to become a better basketball player. And I don't think that he is. And that's no shot or shade because I think Magic Johnson is one of the top 5 players to ever play basketball. So for you, it's a talent
thing. It's not just a resume thing.
Because now you play longer. You know what I mean? Guys can play 20 years and it's like an accumulation of statistics. LeBron's not going to be the greatest scorer in my mind when he passes Kareem.
I would agree with that. I agree with that too. I'm not focused on longevity because Steph in his early career, he had the injuries and stuff like that. So I really just look at primes. And
Steph how great were you when you were at your best?
Right. And I mean, Steph went to 5 straight finals. So I mean, now there were 2 years missing and I can't penalize him for a season that he missed. Right. So, to me, he's accomplishing quite a bit in a similar amount of time as Magic. If you look at the period of time that it's taking to happen. So I get that Magic did his as a rookie, but if we're going to always contextualize things, it's like they came in a different situation. Steph came into a situation where he was in a bum ass franchise.
He had the build.
They weren't going to turn the team over to him right then. Mm-hmm. So then he had to battle the ankle injury. So different things. I'm not saying that he would have been as impactful as Magic as a rookie. We don't know, but Steph was second in Rookie of the Year voting, right? Like we just didn't get he didn't get the opportunity like Kevin Durant or others got to like come
They didn't hand it to him. Yeah, they didn't hand it to him off the rip. And that's right. no fault of anybody. The greatest thing about Irvin, and I'm not a Magic guy in that way.
And I am. I would fight for him.
Because people have put Magic against Isaiah, and I'm like, this is totally not fair. Isaiah came to a bum-ass franchise and had to build him up. But the greatest stat about Magic that goes largely underplayed is from 1983 until 1991, he never finished lower than 3rd in MVP. And the only reason he didn't finish 3rd in MVP in 82 was because he got Paul Westhead fired, and the media was not going to reward a guy who got his coach fired early in the season. You know what I mean? Like, he's been that great, that long, playing completely different ways. I think Steph has changed the game in a way that nobody else could change the game. I think Magic played a way that you tried to replicate and you just couldn't because there's only one of those. And I think that's where they're similar. They're similar, but you know what I mean?
It's interesting what you brought up about the MVP voting because I always tell people when they get so crazy over finishing 2nd, 3rd, I'm like, who cares? Like, no one is gonna sit here and talk about, well, you were top 3 and here you are a week later on my show doing it. But I mean, the thing about and I guess the reason why there's a level that I give to awards, you have to have them to be in those conversations, but you always got to know what the narratives were because you have a year, for example, 2017, where the media just said Kevin and Steph can't be MVP because they play together. I mean, mad people said that. So you can't even say that I'm lying about that.
No, I'm so disappointed that we placed the value on the round number 10. I literally asked people this in Philly last night. I was in Philly covering the Toronto series. And I said, if Russ averaged 31, 9, and 9, we wouldn't have given him that MVP.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. Because Harden just averaged 2 less rebounds. So if he would have just done that, and it was just 67 wins. I get that KD actually went down that year for a little bit. So the games may have been penalized against him. But I'm sorry, Russell Westbrook and James Harden were never better players than Stephen Curry. And also they're going to have more stats because they're not playing on a team with Kevin Durant, right? And so they both had amazing seasons. They were penalized, couldn't be MVP. Not only that, we're second team. So, right. So like, that's what I'm saying. And there's lots of years that like, you can like Steph is being severely punished this year for the slump. He is that he had, right? And he's also being punished for recency bias because Luka missed games at the beginning of the year, but Steph missed them at the close of the year. And because of that, Luka was hot at the end of the year. So people are watching that and they're like, Luka should be first team. Just hear me out. Just hear me out.
I got you.
Right?
I'm with you. I'm listening.
But Steph started off hot and he had his like bad part of the season, but Luka started off slow and he had his bad part of the season. Their traditional stats are not drastically different. They're not. And their impact stats, Steph clears. Like we're not even going to put, he just clears, right? And he has the higher seed. Luka has played one more game than him. And yet Luka was a lock for first team. And then Steph had to fight it out with Booker, who I actually think Booker should have been the lock because I'm giving him the nod for like his team's wins, actually. Okay. But neither one of them, their impact metrics do not even come close to Steph. And their traditional stats are all comparable. Yet he's being severely penalized for a slump. People are just like, a slump in comparing him to himself. Which one of those people shot 38% from three? Not a one of them. That's what I'm saying. It's like you're penalizing him for not being himself, not because the other people really were that much better than him. You think that's unfair what I'm saying?
I was just letting me get it all. Just get it all out.
I knew you were gonna take me down this road, but it's bad because I want to know how voters think, and you're a voter.
My thought was Steph, and I struggled with that on first team. And I looked at Steph's number post December 1st. And I saw him, I was like, man, I didn't realize how drastic the drop was from where he was pre-December 1st for the first 6 or 7, 8 weeks of the season till after. And I know a lot of that had to do with the chase of the record, and that took a toll on him. And then everything that subsequently came after that, the injury and all that. But I didn't feel bad. I didn't feel like I was penalizing him for that. And I'll give you a perfect metric that I use because I feel like for Rookie of the Year, I use a similar metric where how you do the second time you come across the league is a more accurate indication of how you're going to perform, how you really perform than when you first come around it. Because if you're catching people off guard, and a rookie,
but not for someone like Steph.
Right. No. I'm just telling you.
You're thinking.
Thought process. It's not always consistent. You know what I mean? And I felt like once Luka shed the Slovenian, the Slovenian extra weight and beer and all of that type of stuff, I legit felt like he carried that team. I don't look at what Dallas had. I look at what Dallas had.
Steph carried his team too.
It's not a knock. I promise you.
There's no argument you can make on behalf of Luka that he did more than Steph. That's what I'm saying. But Steph, y'all look at his help and says he has more help.
He finished the team. He finished the year stronger. Luka does not have a Draymond Green.
Draymond Green wasn't there. He was gone. He was out hurt. Right?
Draymond Green was the defensive player of the year for the first before he got hurt the first time.
And that doesn't matter. Even when Dre is there, if Steph is not there, the numbers will tell you that the team is abysmal without Steph.
No, I'm not. It's not a knock. I promise you.
Steph doesn't have a Brunson. Jordan Poole wasn't playing like this. Having a second shot creator is a huge thing.
It is. No. Once again, it was never a vote against Steph. I promise you.
I know you're not, but I'm just saying all the arguments you'll make before Luka, they don't fly to me. That's all I'm saying.
I get it. And you're operating from a position of confirmation bias. So there's nothing that I could say, and I accept that. And I think
if I feel like you can't say the same things about Steph. Like if you could, I would accept it. Because like I said, like I personally, I thought Booker was the person who was shafted. Well, he's not because I think he's going to get the other first team spot.
He might. It depends on how you voted.
But when I heard people talking, it was like Luka's a lock. And that's the part that bothered me because I don't think he should have been a lock over Booker, who like his team finished with the best record by like a lot. And then Chris Paul went down and they still kept winning, right? Like winning has to matter. And I do give Booker that for winning. I don't think that he actually had a necessarily, like, if I'm just looking at like their seasons, like how they played, I'm not saying he's way better than Steph or Luka, but I think he should have been the lock, not Luka. And then I think, in my opinion, I know that's not what happened, but I'm just saying my opinion. Then it should have been a discussion between Luka and Steph. That's all.
No, I look.
In my opinion.
I get it. I think
my humble opinion.
Humble. There you go. Humble opinion. Humble. Make sure you put that in there.
Go ahead. I'm gonna let you talk. I'm gonna let you go, and I'm not gonna
slide that in. No. I think Ja had a strong case for first team before he got hurt, before he missed the last, 15 or whatever games. You're shaking your head, but Ja had that type of effect on the team. Even though the team was really, really good without him, he lifted that team up. I do believe. I don't believe.
How can we make that argument when they won so many games without him?
Because I don't think. I think that's unfair.
I think they need their best player. I'm not saying the team is better without him. I just do not see how a guy can miss that many games and we're still saying he lifts the team up. You know whose team can't win without them?
Jokic.
They just won a playoff game.
Oh gosh. Okay. Now Luka is your target.
No. Luka. Well, Luka's always my target. But what I'm saying is,
I didn't realize Luka was your target. I'm learning this today.
No, but when Luka gets on the court, what I'm saying, his team is only a +2 better with him. It's not
right.
Like for years, the Warriors are abysmal without Steph. Like even when Kevin Durant was there, they weren't abysmal, but they like barely stayed over, and that has a lot to do with system. Because I'm not saying that Kevin Durant isn't a great player, but the point is they literally don't survive without him.
Here's the difference between Steph and KD. This is the best way I could ever.
I don't care about KD. I'm talking.
No, I get. Just as a general thing, Steph is the system.
Right.
No. Let me, comma.
Okay.
Comma, not period. Comma. Steph is the system. KD is the player that can operate outside of any system. He can operate in it. He can operate out of it. No, I think if you try to put Steph in a slowdown and try to stifle his creativity, I don't think he would be as great that way. I don't think there's a lot of people who are that creative that can wind up being tamed down, and you make them think more. That's fine. I'm just, from my experience of watching basketball, period. That's the reason I think Isaiah is at a higher plane than most people, because he played in a system that was more conducive to his teammates than himself.
I hear you on that. And by the way, this is not specific to Steph. I think any all-time great can like adjust to anything. So when I say that, I
wonder if LeBron could. I've wondered if LeBron could operate in a system where he was not the system.
I feel you. It would be different. And would it be like as impactful and all of those things? I think those are debatable things.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
But I think that because we saw like Steph go off under Mark Jackson, right? Like when they were playing differently, but the rest of the team, he's gonna do it in any system, is what I'm saying.
Right.
But the system was changed. Like people always say, like Kerr elevated Steph. No. The system elevated the others. Like having Steph play the way he does is for the benefit of the others.
I think it was both. I think it unleashed. It removed like some shackles. It removed some traditional shackles that Steph might have had on him, because Mark was probably so traditional. And
like what?
He handled the ball. Like Steph handled the ball a lot more. If you look at like his assist numbers.
That's a good thing.
No, it's not a bad thing. Once again, you played in a more slow down offense, but Steph creates so much offense because he's gravity without the ball. When he doesn't have the ball and he's on the baseline, all eyes have to be on him, because you don't know where he's going. You don't know what pin down he's coming off of. And that creates assists for the guy who has the ball and for the screener who's diving to the rim. Even though Steph will never get a statistic off of that, he created that from his movement.
Agreed, which is why I get annoyed when people minimize him as a playmaker, because he creates in a different way.
He's not traditional. He's right.
But he doesn't get put in there with those others. I'm like, he's creating the same, or if not better, opportunities. But because they don't come in the form of assists, y'all act like he's not on the level of others. But what I'm saying is that he's equally as lethal on or off. So, but
I think he's more lethal off the ball.
okay, that's fine. But the numbers don't say that though. That's the thing. Like on ball, his numbers and the points he creates per possession are the same. That's what I'm saying. Like people like will say like, the data doesn't reflect what people say. I feel like he went off ball and they worked great. And so people say, yes, he's better off ball. That's not true.
I said, no, I didn't say better. I said more lethal. It's a difference. But when I say lethal, I mean, how preoccupied am I going to be with you if you don't have the ball? As a defense. I'm looking at it from a
balance, a healthy balance between the two? Because I think he's best when he's balanced. And like,
absolutely.
In 2015 and 2016, that's what it was. When Kevin Durant came, we almost went like full off ball. And I don't actually think that's the best version of him. So I don't actually, like, I'm not saying it should have been all what Mark Jackson did. My only point that I was making really is that he's pretty deadly, like with the ball in his hands too. So if you had him in a system, like if you had D'Antoni as his coach, right? I'm not saying that's a good thing or that I want D'Antoni, just what I'm saying. If you had D'Antoni, if you had D'Antoni as his coach, putting the ball in his hands, you would see him being equally as effective and doing just as much damage as other players. And people thinks he wouldn't, but we kind of saw that last season. Now it was a short sample size, but we saw that to close the season over those final 20 games, right? And I mean, just let me remind you, Kent Bazemore, who does not play on the Los Angeles Lakers, was starting. Michael Mulder, who is now in the G League, was a key rotation player. I just want to remind everybody, James Wiseman was out hurt. Kelly Oubre was out hurt. Damian Lee was out hurt, because people, and then like when you bring up Draymond, I get it, but like we understand like Draymond's offensive limitations, right? We understand that, right? And when Clay isn't there and when no one else is there and you're playing Draymond and Loon together with Steph, you're not giving him a lot of space to operate in, right? So we all agree there. And yet they finished the season at a win percentage of a 60 game win team. Now, some might say, well, could he have done that over the course of the season? I think so. But I'm just saying that was like a look at Steph being like that kind of player. That's all.
I look, there's a scene in the Temptations movie where David Ruffin was on stage and he said, "My name is David Ruffin." And he looked at them and he was like, "And these are the Temptations." That's what it looked like with Steph. I'm Steph Curry, and these are the Golden State Warriors. Because it looked like two totally different things out there last year. No. You're not going to get me to say anything bad. Like, I was highly impressed. I wasn't sure that Steph had that much in him, only because the playoffs take a big chunk out of you that you don't get back. I don't think people understand that if your season ends in April compared to ending in June for 5 straight years, that's the equivalent of like damn near playing 2 extra seasons, like emotionally and physically, because it's not just, it's high stakes basketball. And we're still learning a lot about how these new age athletes can recover and everything else. So when you're projecting, going back to your original question, when you're projecting, you're looking at the cumulative effect and saying, can he do this again? And it's not about Steph has a higher thing. It's just we're looking at everything that he's bringing into his career from this point, all the miles, being beat up, you know, the injury, some of the injuries that he's had.
That's
that
fair.
Usually wind up catching people on the backside of 30, which he is now. You're thinking at some point it's going to catch him, not hoping, but you're like, man, there's no precedent for it, especially because he's not 6'9", 255. He's bigger than you think. I want to tell people all the time, Steph is bigger and longer than you think.
Is he really?
But he's not a giant.
That's what he's listed as. That's real.
And he's got long arms. He's long limbed. You know what I mean? So
I'm curious about your opinion on this because I want to know from your perspective.
Okay.
Why do you think though, like you said, like you were like, I understand all the reasons why you were like shocked about it, but not even specific to Steph, because I don't think this is him. But why is it like this thing where like once people saw it last year, they're like, oh, okay, it's like, but like fans like me are like, are y'all like, Steph can do this? Like, what is wrong with you people? Not you per se, but I'm just saying, what is it about, like, I would put even like a Giannis in that category, right? Like, until he did it, right? Because you have definitely the bag Twitter people who question Giannis, right? What is it that like people, they see someone winning, they see them doing it, and they still have to find like, oh, and then they're like, oh, well, okay. I mean, I saw Steph get more respect last year for fucking losing than he does when he wins, right? So when Kevin Durant comes and he goes off and everyone sees Kevin Durant getting wide open lanes to the rim because teams want to stop Steph. And they're running out to the three to stop Clay, right? And you have Ty Lue saying, yeah, we're trying to stop Steph, essentially. I'm paraphrasing, right? Why does it surprise them that Kevin Durant had more points, played better, when he was not the one being schemed for? And I don't say that as a disrespectful way, because Ty Lue just came out the other day and said, and we do that again, even with Kevin Durant, like whatever. And whatever the reasons he did it, all I'm saying is it's understandable if another guy's being schemed for and being trapped all game and doubled, that his stats are not going to be as good as his teammates, right? Like, that's just the logical thing. Doesn't mean that Kevin Durant's not going to put up numbers because he's Kevin Durant, but I'm just saying, right? So why does that turn into Steph needs and he can't do these things, right? And I saw it with Giannis last year. Kevin Middleton goes off and he has a game and people start saying, oh, I told you Kevin Middleton's their best player. And, oh, like, why do people do that? I don't understand. Vince, I need you to explain it to me, please.
You know me. Well, you called Chris Middleton Kevin Middleton twice.
Oh my God, I always do that, and I don't know why. I know his name is Chris Middleton. KHRIS. My friend laughs at me every day. She's like, bitch, why don't you know this man? I don't know why. I don't know why. Chris,
you were talking about Kevin Durant. You were talking about Kevin Durant, so I just thought the Kevin.
No, I do it all the time.
Oh,
and,
okay.
And people like that, they think I'm trying to disrespect him, and I'm not. I don't know why. Chris. I'm gonna.
No, it's not happening. It happened. No, it happened. No. I think for some people, for a lot of us, it goes back to we are people of first impressions. Really, literally, we are. What our first thought of you is going to be our lasting thought of you, even no matter what the evidence says in the middle. So I'm gonna say the first sign of decline, because Steph is an alien, because we've never seen someone like this. We don't know when the decline is going to happen. So we always want to be first. See, I told you. You know what I mean? Like it's really something simplified like that. With Kevin Durant, you can easily see it. He's 7 feet tall. He's got a handle. He might be the greatest scorer guys ever created. And all that type of stuff. It's easier to see. With Steph, it's not as easy to quantify. Through no fault of ours or even its own. It's just something that we haven't seen before. And people want to be able to get in front of it and say, see, I told you. That's all. I don't think it's a natural bias, because Steph isn't an unlikable person. He's not an unlikable player. All of our media interactions with him, I can't speak for everybody, but people genuinely like him. You know what I mean? There's not a lot of, if you ever notice, we don't talk about a lot of things with Steph that we might talk about with other people because we actually like him. And it's like none of our business. A lot of, you know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about.
That. But for the secret fanboys in the media, they do got an axe to grind with him.
Fanboys of who?
Bron.
Oh, okay.
I know that's not you, but
no, I get what you look.
We know that they're out there, and for those people, there's some agendaing. But We're not gonna touch those people.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
We're not gonna touch those people. We're gonna stick with the people who I know don't do that.
Please don't get me in no trouble.
No, I'm not. That's why I didn't even call no names.
No, I don't. But no, I do, and like I said, I do think, and man, I will say that Steph is the most incredible, like as far as like visually, like, man, how does he do this shit? He's that guy. With LeBron, you're like, man, I see how he does it. With KD, it's like, man, this is inevitable. That type of thing. Steph is more or less like man, how did he take the air out of the building like that? You know what I mean? And I think some people find that hard to believe because you haven't seen anybody shoot from 30 feet this long, this well, and you're just waiting on it. And I don't think Steph has more to prove. He doesn't work from a deficit. I think you're thinking he works from a deficit until he proves himself he is still the same player that he was.
I do, but you're telling me no.
How about we have a conversation in October when no matter what happens, they win, losing the second round, losing the conference finals, win it all, whatever. I guarantee you, if Steph has a good playoff run, like not even like super Saiyan Steph, just a good Steph playoff run, nobody's going to be saying, he can't do it. It's not going to be.
I will see Luka ranked ahead of him next year, and I'm going to lose my shit. That's all I'm saying. But go ahead.
You don't want to know my first team, then.
I mean, I know most people's first team is Luka. So, and then,
but it's not the reasons that you think. Because I tried to because they gave us options, and I didn't want to put Embiid on the second team. Or, you know what I mean? Or something like that. You know what I mean?
You've already voted though, right? So, I mean, your votes will come out, maybe or not, but are you comfortable sharing them with me, like what they are?
I'm trying to think. I don't care. I think my first team was Jokic, Embiid, Giannis, Tatum, and Luka. I think I put Tatum because Tatum was an option at guard.
Okay, that's interesting.
Because I felt like I had to reward the guys who played that high of a level of consistent in basketball. And Tatum has gotten so much better defensively and was a pretty big catalyst for that team turning it around and being bludgeoning people from January on.
But that's the thing. You give a lot of credit to what they did after a certain date. And I'm like, but he was not.
And I wasn't a Jason Tatum guy. I wasn't a Jason Tatum guy per se.
I hear you, but he was pretty poor to start the season. He was shooting some abysmal numbers and not great.
The Kobe system, the take it. What's your best shot? A 20-foot step back with a hand in your face.
Right. Absolutely. And Luka started off slow too. And so I kind of don't love the like, okay, but then from this point they got it going. But like Steph started hot, but then he didn't. So you want me to give less credit? No, not less. I just want to look at the whole season altogether. That's it.
And I think for the entire season, I felt like Luka was better.
Okay.
I'm not saying he's a better player. I'm not saying I would take him in a playoff game or series or whatever. I'm just saying he had a better overall season, all things considered. And yes, if your trajectory is going up, that makes it feel better.
Right, but Steph was literally a slump. Like he started hot,
a 3-month slump.
No, it wasn't. It was like, because Warriors fans, we like examined this and dissected it and broke it down. So it was like 20 games, like 25, and then like the last 20. So because he played 64 games. So if you like really split them up over that, it was literally like 3 parts. So like he was back up. Like his numbers were actually looking great before he went down. And I feel like people just ignore that and they're like, oh, he had a slump. But like, yeah, the slump ended like for like a good month. And people were still talking about it. Oh, Steph wasn't, and not only that, it's a slump for him. It's not a slump for any other player. If Dame Lillard had the season Steph had, he would be first team all NBA. And that's what I'm saying. It's only a slump because it's Steph. And that's what like drives me crazy.
Okay, well, if you're going to be a historic player, you're going to be judged by historic standards.
Yeah, but judge him against who the other candidates are.
And agree.
And those guys did not, I don't think by any measure had any better season than him. But
I think Luka was fantastic, man.
Luka was fantastic to close. And Steph would have been fantastic, but he got hurt. But he was fantastic to start. And he gave his team a big ass cushion, which is why they still finished third. And to me, that should be credited, right? He started off hot and gave himself a chance to have a better standing than Luka, who came into the season, right? And he wasn't penalized for that. He wasn't.
Nat, if I mistyped on my vote and put Steph first team, I wouldn't call the league like, oh my God, I really, really screwed up.
No,
here.
but I'm just saying.
I think the margins are that
Why doesn't he get the benefit for giving his team a hot start, and Luka gets the benefit for giving his team a hot finish?
I think you just said it. I think it's recency.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. That's messed up.
I don't know if it's necessarily messed up, but I do think traditionally you do give, especially coming off like the weird season that, pandemic.
Voters do. They
Olympics.
do. I just don't like that. Because I feel like even in that season with Russ and Harden, which by the way, Kawhi would have been my vote. But even in that season with Russ and Harden, I felt like Harden had the momentum the most, I think, for most of the season. And then Russ, not only did he meet the triple double, but he just kind of finished strong. He had like some of these bigger games. He had this. And I was like, okay, yeah, Russ. And I'm just like, this is fucking stupid to me. Like things like that, it's a lot.
You give it some weight, but you don't give it all the weight.
Right. Like, I feel like you should look at the season in totality. And I don't feel like that happens.
I think it's okay to give a little more for a surge. Like you're giving credit for a surge, but not basing your whole vote on that. And I didn't vote for Russ that MVP. I think I put him third or fourth. I voted for Harden first, and then Kawhi, and it was either LeBron or Russ after that. Whatever it was, I can't remember my exact.
Did you vote for MVP this year too?
Mm-hmm.
Did you give it to Jokic?
No.
So proud of you.
I can't vote for. I don't vote. I don't think I've ever voted for a player on a team that I didn't think had a reasonable chance of being a contender.
And that's how the vote should work, in my opinion. And so that's why last year when people were talking about, because I mean, Warriors fans were like, oh, Steph should be MVP. And I was just like, Steph is not the MVP. Please stop this lunacy. Right. And that's my guy. I was like, Jokic should be unanimous. And everyone was mad at me because, Steph has been the only unanimous. But that's what I thought. But because like, you hear this argument that like it's a regular season award, but MVPs traditionally in the past, most of them make real postseason runs, like people bring up like the Dirk example, but like, that's why that was so crazy when it happened. And the Warriors, like
they won 67 games. You know what I mean?
No,
like,
I'm saying him losing in the first round was crazy, right? The upset was crazy, right? Because we thought that the Mavs could go further. And so like, I agree with your rationale. When like, see, we agree on some things. I co-sign. I love it. Thank God for that. Why are you laughing at me?
I know Golden State Twitter is gonna be on my behind.
No, I mean, look, yeah, they all think. Wait, did you at least have Steph's second team, or you put him third team? Because I was
second team. No, he was second team.
Because I'm like,
don't hurt me, please.
I'm not gonna hurt you. Okay, no, but that's an interesting ballot. I mean, I thought Tatum should be first team, but I just thought like people just needed to choose between Embiid and
I went back and forth. I went back and forth because history being a guide is one thing, but then the league gives you options on another thing. Like I was really torn, and then you wind up leaving a couple of guards off of your third team because you're because you're
right. But do you hurt Tatum when you put him at guard? Because aren't the votes going to be split?
From what I've been told is wherever you get the most votes, like the tabulation of votes, wherever you get the most votes at, that's the position you're placed in.
Right. So, but that's what I mean. So it's like, I guess
even if someone else gets more votes at guard, you will get placed at guard because you got more votes as a whole. Like whether you're forward or guard, it doesn't matter. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I mean, I guess what I'm saying, wasn't there I don't remember if this was like 2 years ago, but the year that Tatum didn't get the bonus or whatever because he missed, right?
Right.
That year he got more total votes than Jimmy, but Jimmy got more votes at the position, so he made
it was something weird.
And that's what I mean. So it's like even though you put him in at guard, I don't think most people are gonna put him in at guard. So like Doesn't
I don't know.
that
I promise you. The weird thing is like, hey, I do want people to know. We didn't ask for the designation to have people's
I
money in
know
our
it's
hands.
unfair. I know you guys shouldn't. But I'm just saying that's what I mean. Like, even though you have the option to put players at multiple positions, because I think maybe we talked about this, or I'm not sure, but like I feel like the only way that works is if the media actually coordinates with one another. And you guys aren't coordinating on votes.
No, we're not coordinating on votes. And I don't know, and it's like it's a weird thing. That seriously, it is. And I looked at it and I said, I want to reward or acknowledge who I felt like had the greatest impact as a whole.
As a
You
whole,
know what
yeah,
I
I
mean?
get it.
And I felt like Jason Tatum didn't have an All NBA second team season.
I hear you. No,
You know what I
I
mean?
would have put him first too. I just was just like he like just someone's not gonna at the center position. Like, but I get it. Everyone wanted to make sure Embiid and Jokic and Giannis were all on there. So I understand that. But I agree with you that I thought Tatum should have been first team. And so to me, it would have been the center choice, personally, if I just
No,
did
I
it.
get it. I get it. Look, some people, uh, you know, some people can taste cucumbers a better pickle. You know what I
And was
mean?
Book your other second team guard?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I believe so.
So then you're not even sure. So then Ja got third team because of the games missed. Or no, he didn't even make it.
No, he did. Ja made it. No, I can't. I
Or are you
can't
just trying to
remember.
remember who you had second?
That's what it is. I'm trying to remember. Like
No
my head is
problem. No
like
problem.
it's
Okay, I got it.
But
Cool.
Steph was a second team guard. I do remember that. I just can't remember if it was Book or if it was Ja. And that's and
So
I
I'm
remember
curious now, who was your other guard? Was it Trey? Was it Mitchell? Was it someone else? Your other third team guard?
who was the third team guard? It might have been DeMar DeRozan.
Okay. And I was curious, but why are people putting him as a guard? Is it just because
Because
there's
he
not enough?
is. Because DeMar's a guard.
But he
Like
didn't play, like he didn't play guard this year.
Billy Donovan plays four guards in the center.
Okay. Yeah, but like he was playing actually he played his most minutes, I thought, at like the four, right? But
By function. Are you gonna call him a point four? Or you gonna call him a two guard?
I'm just saying, DeMar's interesting. I was wondering like how people were gonna vote for him too. I'm not mad at it.
It's just it's really hard because a lot of guys had really really good seasons. You know what I mean? Like really really good seasons, and it just depends on your criteria. And I think third team is probably where the rubber kind of met the road, depending on how you voted first and second, because you're going to have to make up for some of those spots. And someone who might ordinarily get a vote got squeezed out because of somebody at a different position on first or second. So it's not always accurate, but you want to put priority on first team and second team and not worry about, well, man, he's not going to make it this year. So let me switch up my first and second team. You know what I mean? Like it's really hard. Like even that Joker and B thing, not that it costs somebody something, but it switches up your entire ballot all the way around. That's all. It happens.
Okay.
Don't lose no sleep over it.
No, yeah, I mean, I hear you. That's interesting. Thank you for walking me through that process. All right, we have been talking way longer than I anticipated, so I kept your time, and we didn't even get to any of the things that I wanted to talk to you about. So do you have like another 10 minutes you can give me?
Sure.
Okay, because like I mean, I want to talk. This is all good. So Warriors fans are gonna love this, but I want to talk a little bit about the postseason, and I also want to talk about the name. So you are the person who came up with the name of the death lineup. And I'm sure you've seen all these tweets where like, we're trying to figure out a name for their new 3-guard lineup. And, should we just keep calling it the death lineup? Should we call whatever? Right. So everyone's trying to come up with a name. And I'm like, people like, we should just let it be organic. And I'm just like, okay, but even when it's organic, someone names it. Like there's someone who first comes up with the name. And the death lineup was so fire, right? And you are the person who came up with that name. So can you please walk me through or walk us through for my listeners how that name came about?
I was in Chicago covering the Bulls, and this was the year after the year you won the championship. This was a 7-3 year. And we're in Oracle around Thanksgiving or somewhere in November. And it's a close game in the first quarter. And in the second quarter, all of a sudden, it just went like to 20. And everybody's like, yeah, this happens every night. And I'm like, man, and literally I'm sitting there, no bullshit. I'm sitting there like, man, this lineup just kills you. It's like a lineup of death. It's a death lineup. And as quickly as I said it, I forgot about it. Like I didn't think anything of it. Like Ethan Strauss might have been sitting around me. Like I'm really cool with Ethan. Ethan's cool. Nate Duncan was around. Like he has his own podcast and everything else. And I left the arena that night not thinking anything. And then you're seeing death lineup, death lineup, death lineup like a month later. I promise you, I didn't think about it until like May when somebody said to Nate Duncan, who created Death Lineup, and somebody said, "Oh, Nate Duncan did it," and they was like, "No, it was Vince Goodwill or V Goodwill, whatever my thing was at the time." I'm like, really? I said that shit? And I had to think about my train of thought. And I was like, oh, I did say that because I was like, I said this lineup kills you. It's like a lineup of death. It's a death lineup. That's exactly how it went. And then boom, it just left my head as quickly as it got there. You know what I mean?
Dope.
So that was pretty cool. I wish I had trademarked it because I'd probably be a rich man and shit.
Yeah. And I mean, it did happen organically. And I think that's what people mean. But yeah, no, definitely. That's dope. Because I didn't know that. And I don't think most people knew where it came from. And they've probably been attributing the wrong person. So I want you to get your credit because you created it.
Thank you, Matt. I appreciate. Now we got the record all the way straight.
Definitely. So let's just do like a quick snapshot of like the playoffs so far. We've had like most teams have played 1 or 2 games.
Right.
So out east, I mean, I feel like the only really interesting series is Celtics and the Nets. What are your predictions for the others? Tell me. You have Miami over Hawks or what?
Yeah. That yeah.
How many games is that going, you think?
Maybe 5. Maybe Trey gets you 1. Maybe Trey will win like a game 3. Miami lets their foot off the gas. But I think that's a 5-game series. You can clearly see who the better team is.
Right.
And all of that. Yeah.
What about Bucks Bulls?
The Bulls
with Chris Middleton.
There we go.
Chris Middleton.
the Bucks last year, the thing that got me, they got drastically better as series went on. Like remember that they beat Miami in the game 1 by 1 and then blew them out by game 4. And they struggled against Phoenix and then took over the series at the end. I wonder if they're going to follow that same trajectory this year where they played them really close in game 1 and probably should have lost, but they won. I think that was Chicago's best chance to get a game. I would not be surprised if that's a sweep. And I love Chicago, but I think that series might be a sweep. Chicago Bulls fans think I hate them, which is fine.
I think I had that series as 5. I think I had the Heat as 5 too. Because I give you have a guy like Trey. And I just feel like he can get a game at home. And same thing with like the Bulls.
He can get you 1. He can
probably get a game at home.
I don't know if the Bulls have it in them. Maybe if Zach goes off and DeMar goes off, they're capable of it. So 4.5 games. How about that?
Okay.
4.5.
Okay. What about the Raptors and Sixers? Because this one's interesting because I feel like a lot of people maybe gave the Raptors a little bit more credit than they should have. And now it sucks with like Barnes, going down. But even before that, I was like, why do people have this series? Like, I don't know. It was just like, it's kind of the way I felt about Golden State and Denver when I saw these 6 and 7 game predictions. I'm like, this is disrespectful. I'm like, Embiid is the scoring leader. He is an MVP candidate, and he is he's by far, by like a whole class, the best player in the series. And then, and I am no fan of James Harden. And I was
gonna say, have you seen his movies in the playoffs? Because I have.
Listen, I'm just saying. I don't know. I like Toronto. They're cool, and they had like a little nice run to the season. And, the only reason I was even saying it will go 6 is because of players who may not be able to play in Toronto. But, and I also give them the coaching advantage. I give them the coaching advantage.
But Doc's outcoached them this series. Doc's run circles around Nick Nurse so far this series in the ways that people probably wouldn't expect. So I think Toronto probably gets a game out of it because you blow a team out 2 times at home. The tendency is to let down a little bit. I would not be surprised if Toronto just pulls a game 3 out of their behind and then the series starts to take shape after that and it's over in 5. But I think it's clear.
So you think that's 5 too?
I think that's 5.
Okay.
Before I did not, but now I do.
Because of the Barnes injury?
No, just actually being there, sitting there and watching it. and watching them take the reins off of Maxey and letting him go. You know what I mean? Like it's clear now that they're better coached at this point. You know what I mean? And they don't have the bigs to contain Embiid. So I think this is a 5-game series.
I know people love Nick Nurse. I'm not a fan of him and all his gimmicks, like
I wonder why.
yeah, exactly. We won't go there. So, okay. So, but the Celtics and Nets. Okay. So, and I know, I mean, granted, you're still neutral, but like you're a big KD guy. So, who do you have winning this series, and how long is it going?
I think Kevin Durant's the best player in the game, with
Okay.
Giannis being, them being there. But Kevin Durant, the general manager, and Kevin Durant, the friend, has undercut Kevin Durant, the generational basketball player at this point. And Boston looks like a team that could be on a mission. I would see that going 6. I could see that going. I could see that ended in Barclays in a 6 game, in a hotly contested 6
And
game.
who's winning? Because if
Boston.
Okay. Come like
I guess I didn't frame that the right way when I said look at your face. I was like, am I speaking Chinese or something?
No, because I'm just like, we got Brooklyn winning 4 out of the next 5?
No. Not even if Ben Simmons comes and resurrects himself like it's Easter Sunday. No. Don't see that happen.
Yeah, I have it going 7 out of respect for Kevin Durant and Kyrie, but I picked Boston for this series as well. Their defense is legit, and Tatum, I feel like I've been impressed with Tatum from day one, like going head to head with Bron so young and everything. And I am not one of the people who thinks this gap that people say exists between him and Luka does. So like even if you say he's not on Luka's level, I don't think it's like this big. I think we are rushing to put Luka on the level of like the Giannis's and Steph's and KD's of the world. And I think he's still below them. And I do think that Jason Tatum is probably a little closer to him than people think. So that's my opinion.
Luka is real. Luka is real, man.
He's real. I'm not saying he's not real. I'm just saying I don't think he's on those guys' levels yet, but we keep putting him there and he hasn't done it. And I think Tatum's actually accomplished more. I don't want to really hear that much about help. And I think that and also, I mean, because people always do this for every other player, but like Tatum is a legit 2-way player. Like he was.
Now he is.
Right. And like, I don't know, like, again, we'll see. But I think this postseason, we got to really think about how and where we rank Jason Tatum, depending on what they do. So that's just my opinion.
I'm with you.
But, all right. So we both got Celtics, but all right. Okay. So we're aligned in our pick so far. Let's go over to the West. Wait, who do you have coming out the East?
Ooh, I think I still got Milwaukee coming out the East.
Okay.
Although I would love to spend June in South Beach. I would love to spend June in Miami.
So you think it's out of those two? What chance do you give the Celtics to come out the East?
I give them they got to get out the first round first.
Right.
But no.
But if they do, because who would they see next? Milwaukee.
And playing against Giannis in full bloom.
If they get Rob Williams back, we don't think that.
No, I don't think they'll get him back by second round. I mean, even if you do get him back, like it's not like he's Steph coming back and you know what I mean? Like he's a different type of player where you're going to ask him coming off of that level of injury to come back and be that type of rim protector, that type of athlete. I think they might be asking a bit too much. We automatically assume player comes back from injury, he's 100%.
No, I hear you. I hear you. But I feel like he's a big defensive player for them, though. I hear you. I just feel like his role is not as big. So that's why I thought he could, even if it's like restricted minutes and stuff, I feel like he could still be really impactful and limited.
I agree. I would much rather go not paying college tuition in Miami. I don't do the whole college tuition thing when I go out of town, but I do like Miami. I'm sure you understand what I mean.
I lived in South Florida for a number of years, so I get it. Okay. All right. And I mean, I think Milwaukee is, but I originally said I think Milwaukee would come out the East, but when I did my official ballot, I went with Boston. So we'll see. Okay. So now let's move over to the West. Okay, so how many games you giving Warriors Nuggets?
Where's the Wallace?
And how many did you originally give it before the series started?
That's a good question. I don't think anybody asked me, but I do think I said I needed to see Steph. I need to see him play. Because the last time I saw him at the tournament, he was like in a walking boot. And I'm like, this don't look good. You know what I mean? But
that was precautionary, bro.
I get it, but you see a walking boot, that doesn't engender confidence. I don't care who you are. But I think I'll probably pick Golden State in 6. I forgot if anybody asked me my official prediction, but I never picked Golden State to lose the series.
Which is still possible, Golden State in 6, but is that still what you would think now after seeing?
No, I think no. Bring out the brooms. No. This is.
You think it's a series?
Yeah, I think this is over.
Okay. All right. You're not just saying that because you're on my podcast, right?
I mean, don't get me wrong. Jokic can get you one, but I don't know if Draymond has so much real estate in his head right now that it's possible that he can get you one. I mean, Steph and Clay and Poole can go cold. Will they go cold all in the same game? And can Denver take advantage of that all at once? I think the talent disparity is so wide. You know what I mean? So I would not be surprised if they got a game.
They've kind of shown what they look like when they go cold. Like some people may not remember, but like the very first game against the Lakers is a perfect example. And even their Christmas Day game against the Suns, those are all examples of like when they go cold, like they can just attack. Jordan, like having him as a second shot creator just changed things for the team.
It's critical.
And like he can get to the rim, Steph can get for the rim. Like he's gonna still create opportunities. So yeah, I still like my chances if they go cold. Okay. Suns, is that a sweep or will the Pelicans get one game? Because they ended up coming back and making it close. I know the Suns are the fucking clutch merchants and everyone can't stop talking about it. So yeah, I know. But like, do you think that the Pelicans can get a game?
They could, but I don't think they will.
So you think that's a sweep?
I think that's a sweep.
Okay. Who do we have left?
Dallas and Utah.
Yeah, so that obviously, I don't even know if that's actually dependent on Luka coming back. And I know that sounds crazy.
Yes,
but
it is. Yes, it is dependent on Luka coming back.
I'm just saying, I talked to some people who are close to these teams and, like they didn't think it was like out of the realm. But okay. But I think like Luka can, I think, still cannot come back to the 4th game and they'd be okay. Because I mean, now it's 1-1.
Yeah.
So if Luka comes back, do you have them winning or does it depend to you how Luka looks?
Well, any calf injury to me,
it's so tricky.
You got PTSD with calf injuries. You know what I mean? Is it, that type of thing. But if Luka comes back and he's a reasonable version of himself, I can see them winning this 6 games. If he comes back by game 4, I can see them winning this. I think Utah is just that much in disarray.
I agree.
Right now. Not that Dallas is that good per se, and that they can just hit the ground running, but I think Utah's in that much disarray.
I agree. Okay. So we don't know. It's kind of dependent. Okay. So if Luka doesn't come back, or then you would have Utah winning it?
Probably so. Because I don't know if Jalen Brunson can pull another 40-point game out of his behind.
But Spencer then is going to give you the game, right? I feel like someone else will show up and give you that game.
Spencer can give you a game. Who's going to give you the series?
Right. So you just need Spencer to give you a game and then maybe like
somebody else. Who's the somebody else?
Okay. That's fair. But maybe Brunson gives you 2 games and Spencer gives you 1. I don't know.
If that's gravy. If that happens, that's gravy.
Okay. No, I know. I hear you. Okay. Now the real series in the West is Memphis and the Wolves, right? Now, but did you have that as a series before it started? Because I always did, but there were people who kind of were just, Memphis 5 games, and I was like, what?
No, the Ant-Man. No, I'm a believer in the Ant-Man. No.
Okay, so am I. I'm a believer in Cat too. I get all the issues people have with him, but I'm a believer in him too. I am. Like, you don't need him to be the closer. They have Ant, but I'm a believer in him, like putting up numbers and like performing. And he's done that so far in 1 game. We'll see how it continues. I get it. I know all the issues people have with Cat, but like he was really good in the first game, no?
That was his one. That might have been his one game.
Wow.
Now,
So you think
now,
you're gonna get a disappearing act?
no, I think Memphis puts Jaren Jackson Jr. on him and probably puts him on punishment because he can dominate Steven Adams. I just wonder if
JJJ is gonna pick up fouls like in a heartbeat.
That's true, but Cat ain't physical enough to put him in foul trouble.
He's trying to be though. He's trying to like do the little tough guy thing this year.
Do you buy it?
I mean, listen, I'm not gonna have too much to criticize Cat about because the man has gone through a lot.
He's gone through a lot, and I like Cat, and I like him a lot. But on the floor, he's better as a secondary option than handing that over to Anthony and saying, "Hey, man, this is yours."
And that's fine. And I think that they're like that, and that it seems like they've accepted that dynamic on the team. So,
but Memphis is really good, so I think Memphis wins in 6.
Okay, I have Memphis in 7, but I would not be surprised if the Wolves win. And all I know is Memphis better win tonight after Ja put up Michael Jordan. That's all I know. That's all I fucking know. Because let me tell you something. I don't wait for whole series to end. I pack you up after each game. And I went after them after that first game. I will be on their ass.
You smoked that Memphis pack in after game 1? Oh my gosh.
And last night he was tweeting about the Warriors. I said, yeah, you soon. You see next. Okay. So now tell me. Who you got coming out the West?
Up until now, I probably had Phoenix.
What's changed for you, Vince?
I don't know. I don't know. I literally, this is the most indecisive I've been. Because Phoenix plays closer to their character more than anybody else in the league. Like, you know the type of game you're going to get from them. I still think Golden State's learning each other. Because they haven't played together all year. You add this new element in Poole, and then you don't have the size to deal with Ayton and lack of JaVale McGee, when it comes down to it. I know that sounds crazy. And I wonder if that
the Ayton thing sounds crazy to me too, but it's
okay. No, Ayton's a grown. I like Ayton, man.
Ayton's great, but we beat the Suns twice this year. Do people know that? And we beat them last year with Michael Mulder and Kent Bazemore.
I don't know. I don't know. I need to see more.
Yeah, I understand. You guys always want to see more. You see,
no. I need to see more before I make a pick. Because my instinct could tell me that Golden State wins, but I want to see more before I say something.
Trust your instinct, trust the experience, trust the team with the best player in the series on the floor.
That's true. Best player.
Just we don't need to be complicated about this, people. Okay.
The best player in the series, if all things are created equal, best player in the series that breaks the tie. You're absolutely right. But is it a tie?
First of all, we were at the same pace as Phoenix in the beginning of the season, and then we got injured. And people started acting like for some reason we got injured. Oh, we're not as good. Well, no shit, because we got injured. But you see what they look like healthy right now. And that's not just because it's the Nuggets. Like, we're a bad matchup for Phoenix. We're a bad matchup for them.
They could be, look, December and June
when we beat them on Christmas Day, there was no Wiggins or Jordan Poole in that game, right?
I remember.
Okay. Just want to remind folks.
I look,
and even the other night when they played us without Steph and barely won, that was without Steph. Phoenix ain't seeing us.
We'll see what happens. Now, I look forward to seeing what happens.
Okay, so you either have the Suns or the Warriors coming out the West to play Milwaukee.
I think so,
but you can't decide yet which one it is. But your heart is telling you that.
No, it's no heart. Ain't no heart in this game.
Your instinct is telling you it's the Warriors, and you're fighting your instinct.
I need to see more from both before I can make an intelligent judgment.
Okay, fair enough. Well, I did want to ask you just quickly about the Pistons. I know that they're not your team anymore, but how do you feel about Cade? I mean, what do you think that means for the Pistons?
I think he's a star. Okay. I think he's a star, and they needed a star, and they're on an upward trajectory. Maybe next year they'll be in the play-in conversation. You know what I mean? That's kind of a goal if you're not in it right now. But I think they've got some pieces, and I'm looking forward to meaningful basketball being played in my city for the first time in a long time. It's been over a decade,
right?
Since spring has meant basketball in Detroit worth a damn.
No doubt. Vincent, this was such a wonderful conversation. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed yourself.
Oh, this was always fun. Always fun.
Okay. I wasn't too bad, right?
No. You were good. 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 You were good.
Oh my gosh. Well, no, really. I appreciate you coming on. You guys, Warriors fans, we don't have to be mad at Vince anymore because of him and Bomani's comments, okay? You see, like, we do not have to be mad at him. He's a good guy. So give him a follow if you're not. Check him out. I appreciate him. And he's a supporter of me. So I appreciate that as well.
Always, always, always.
Thank you so much for being on. And I will, of course, see you on the timeline. Guys,
be good.
Thank you. You be good as well. Rate the show, review the show if you haven't already. Until next time, we're gonna have some you'll see what a great conversation this was. So stay tuned. Take care.